Good morning, YouTube. Y'all going to excuse me. About to get ready for work soon, so I still got on my little robe. So I wanted to come in here and talk about my video I did about the American descendants of slavery, the ADOS movement. It's kind of interesting and it's kind of surprising because it's actually shown me and it's brought some great conversation to how a lot of people see the foundation of Black Americans, how a lot of people see American descendants of slaves. Um, a lot of people hate it. They pretend they don't understand it. They throw darts at it. They shit like colorism. They'll say shit like someone said, um, but were you affected by slavery? Slavery ended in 1965. First of all, slavery didn't end in 1965. It was 1865, and then not really, because they were still having slaves at the time. So, try maybe the early 1900s is when slavery, I would say, officially ended. On the books, they'll tell you 1865, but if you go further down history, you'll find out that probably late 1800s and the early 1900s is when slavery was officially, just gone. Because again, they had that thing, but then the actual law to abolish it didn't come until later. So, don't Jewish descendants, don't people of the Jewish community know they still get reparations for the Holocaust? Don't indigenous tribes here on the American lands, don't they still get reparations back from what happened to them? Don't they still get land allotments? Don't they still get free, no taxes? Don't they still get free college and all of those great things? So if the Jewish community can still get reparations for the Holocaust and all that, why can't the American descendants of slaves receive, a payback from what happened to our ancestors? And then the people, you can skip slavery, even though we're not going to do that. But what about Jim Crow? What about the Black Codes? What about Tulsa, Oklahoma? What about our Black Wall Streets and districts? What about the Freedmen's Bureau? What about how they? Well, first of all, before we even after slavery, we had the Freedmen's Bureau. They systematically destroyed that. We had our own legislators. We had people in government. The KKK basically forcibly removed them with terror and fear. Just the same thing they did. What y'all have to understand is they have been doing the same thing to Black descendants generation after generation after generation. Shit, nothing has changed. They may change the terminology. They may change the language. Shit might not be as violent or perceived to be as violent today, but they're still doing the same things to our people. They have ran the KKK out of the KKK ran our government out of the Freedmen's Bureau, and then they burned down our Black Wall Streets like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and things of that nature. They set black codes that said that Black kids could not read. There was a whole generation of Black parents who could not get an education, who could not find proper jobs, so then they would send the next generation on to go to school and get proper jobs. Like, y'all have to understand, our ancestors have gone through a lot and they had to make a lot of sacrifices just to make sure that they could put food on the table, just to make sure that they live, they survived, that they had a place to live. They were going through some shit. And this is even after slavery. So you can put slavery to the side, but let's talk about the Black codes. Let's talk about Jim Crow. Let's talk about the systematic destruction of our economic base. Let's talk about the fact that they built bridges and roads and shit through our communities. Let's talk about the fact that our communities, whether always ghettos and hoods as people call them today, we used to actually have communities. Like, I can't talk to people, and I don't like people coming onto my channel who don't have the educational background to have these discussions. I have been studying this shit since I was like 16. I have read many books. I have talked to many elders. So, I know what I'm talking about. I don't just spew bullshit or have talking points to have talking points. Now, let's talk about the Black communities. Where does all of our money go? We support Asian businesses. You have the women going to get their nails and hair did. We support the Chinese stores. We support the Latino poppy grocery stores. We support everybody. But if a Black person opens up a store in the white community or Latino community, I bet you nobody will support it. But who's to say they would even allow you to open up a store? How come, like it's like the Black community right now is being used as a cash grab? You have a bunch of different ethnic and minority backgrounds in our community opening up small businesses and stores. And yes, it is majority our fault because we don't have to support this stuff. But we go in there and we spend our hard earned money in these Korean, nail shops and these, Chinese grocery stores and Chinese stores and stuff like that. And then we sit and tell our children they can't have the things that they want. We can't afford to send them to, karate classes. We can't afford them to send them to gymnastics. We can't afford to get them this. We can't afford to do that. But meanwhile, you have our women sending all their money to nail salons and shit. You have our men, going into the stores and buying, platters and stuff like we're giving away literally the only money that we're making because we are the richest Black nation on this earth. But we give away all our money to other people. We give it back to the system, and we give it back to all these other communities. I mean, other minorities that are using our community as a cash grab. And people try to pretend they don't understand what's going on with Black America. Oh, we know what's going on. A lot of people have always known what's going on for a while. It's just some people have just decided to wake up, and that's why we started the ADOS movement, because we got to get politically serious. At this point, we're like, this is bullshit, and we know it's bullshit, and we can see what's going on. So again, if you do not understand the plight and the life and the struggle and the history of the descendants of slaves, don't speak on it. Don't come on my platform trying to argue with me. Do not put your bullshit comments. And I'm usually good, but sometimes I'll respond, sometimes I might remove it, or I might just leave it there to show if people how ignorant you are. But it's kind of getting annoying, because again, don't access if we're still suffering from the effects of slavery, when there are studies on that. There have been books written on that. And again, if you want to just leave slavery alone, how come nobody brings up the Black Codes, Jim Crow, the systematic destruction of the Black Wall Street, economic deprivation, the system that was imposed on indigenous tribes as well as, African nations as well? So again, we're not going to sit here and act like, we don't understand the plight of Black people. If everybody else is still getting paid from the atrocities that was, placed on them, then why can't, the Black Americans get the same thing? That's because people don't like us and they don't respect us. And guess what? We don't give a fuck. But y'all will respect our movement or sit the fuck down. So let me go ahead and get ready for work, y'all. I just had to say that. Let me go ahead and get a shower. Yeah, I'm going to work. Something they claim us Black Americans do. Something they claim that we don't want to do.